Today on Inquirer, senators hold Police Master Sergeant Rodolfo Mayo and his superior in contempt over the alleged 6.7 billion shabu drug haul cover-up. House Ethics Panel sets hearing on Congressman Arnie Teves' continuous absence. DSWD to launch food stamp program in July. And Denver Nuggets sweep the Los Angeles Lakers to reach NBA Finals. Good evening. Senators held in contempt National Capital Region Drug Enforcement Officer in Charge, Lieutenant Colonel Arnulfo Ibanez, and his subordinate, Master Sergeant Rodolfo Mayo Jr., who were allegedly involved in the 6.7 billion peso shabu drug haul cover-up in October last year. During the Senate Committee hearing on Public Order in Dangerous Drugs with Committees on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship on the case, Senator Raffy Tulfo suggested to Senator Bato de la Rosa to cite Ibanez for contempt for testifying that he was not aware of subordinates' activities. Earlier, Ibanez claimed he was innocent and had no knowledge of Mayo's movements, which Tulfo doubted.
Dalawa lang, mamili ka. Ikaw ay bobo o ikaw ay tiwali. Bobo dahil minimum bobo ka at hindi ka karapat-dapat sa PNP, dapat masiba ka na sapagkat at makulong pa sapagkat hindi mo alam ang pinanggagawa ng bata mo na inirekomenda mo sa PDEC, bobo. Or tiwali, alam mo na itong bata mo ay gumagawa ng kalokohan at kinukonsinti mo. Mamili ka lang, dalawa lang. Bobo o tiwali ka?
Wala akong mapili, Your Honor, kundi bobo na lang.
So kung wala mapili, tanga. Hindi nga, sir. Honestly, I'm serious. Lahat ng kernel para sa akin matatalino. Hindi nyo maabot yung ganong rango, kernel, kung kayo ay bobo. So, this time, baka nagbububuhan lang kayo para makalusot kayo sa pagiging tiwali. So sabi mo, hindi ka bobo, hindi ka tiwali, tanga ka kasi hindi mo kayang sagutin po, sir, yung napaka-simple question. I think, Your Honor, wala tayong mapipiga na rito.
Tulfo emphasized that law enforcement officials can also be arrested for drug-related crimes, which De La Rosa concurred. De La Rosa then ordered to cite Ibanez for contempt. Earlier, Tulfo also questioned Ibanez's subordinate, Mayo, on how he had reportedly accumulated billions worth of shabu, but Mayo refused to answer. This led to Mayo being held in contempt by the Senate.
Sergeant Police Lieutenant Colonel Arnulfo Ibanez is hereby cited in contempt before this committee. So ordered. Sergeant at Arms, mamaya na niyo kukunin pagkatapos ng investigasyon. Dito lang muna. He stays here, then afterwards, kulong niyo sa baba.
The House Committee on Ethics and Privileges has set a hearing on the continuous absence of Negros Oriental 3rd District Representative Arnie Teves. This comes as the 60-day suspension initially imposed against Teves has lapsed. House Ethics Panel Chair Representative Filemon Espares says the hearing will be on Monday next week. After the committee meeting on Monday, Espares says the panel would submit its recommendations to the plenary so that lawmakers can decide what their next action will be.
This committee, again, able to acquire a jurisdiction via motu proprio to further investigate continuing absences of our members after the lapse of 60-day suspension, which was ended last yesterday. So again, we will be continuing our committee process dito. So we have scheduled again another committee hearing on the 29th of this month, May, in order to hear and process case being improved with this committee.
Meanwhile, Espares disputes claims that the House Ethics Panel is being pressured to resolve issues concerning Teves. He clarifies that the committee only wants to submit the report on Teves' unauthorized absence before Congress goes on a break on June 3. Espares also maintains that while they would like to hear the side of Teves, he would still not be allowed to join the proceedings through video conferencing because he has been deemed absent.
Pressure siguro dito is just because dapat may habol din yung committee reports. Yet for the plenary or the Ministry House act on our report before we have a long break. So yun na, no? But then with regards sa mga other pressures, I don't think so na.
After almost 31 hours, the fire which gutted Manila Central Post Office was extinguished on Tuesday morning. According to the Bureau of Fire Protection's report, the fire was only declared fully extinguished around 6:33 a.m. on Tuesday. A total of 18 individuals were hurt from the incident. Of the said injuries, 16 are firefighters, while the 2 were identified to be fire volunteers and a civilian. No fatalities were reported. The fire was confirmed and raised to the first alarm at 11:41 p.m. on Sunday before reaching the highest alarm classification at 5:54 a.m. on Monday. A few hours later, the blaze was put under control at 7:22 a.m. on Monday. Meanwhile, the conflagration may have damaged around 300 million pesos worth of assets. In 2018, the Manila Central Post Office building was declared an important cultural property by the National Museum. The Department of Social Welfare and Development is set to begin the implementation of the food stamp program in July this year. DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian says the Walang Gutom 2027 food stamp program is targeting to help 1 million poor households in the country. The pilot run of the program will be in July. DSWD has identified 5 places that will serve as pilot areas for implementation, with a total of 3,000 families initially covered. Gatchalian says families would be given benefit cards or tap cards loaded with food credits amounting to 3,000 pesos.
The Walang Gutom 2027 aims to provide electronic benefit transfers that will be loaded with food credits amounting to 3,000 pesos to purchase a select list of food commodities from DSWD accredited local retailers. We will supplement the family's intake so that they mawala yung feeling of hunger, thereby makahanap siya ng trabaho, and thereby they become part of the workforce of the country.
According to Gatchalian, the tap cards would not be loaded with money, only food credits. With the tap cards, beneficiaries can choose from a selection of items from different food groups. Beneficiaries are families whose income does not go beyond 8,000 pesos a month. Gatchalian hopes the regular implementation of the food stamps will be in place in the first quarter of 2024.
We use food as currency, meaning the digital cards kasi that will be given to them. Let me just point out that this is also in tune with the President's drive na digitalization. Baka iniisip natin these are like your manual food stamps na mano-mano. No more. We're working with the WFP on a digital platform wherein they get tap cards. Now, the tap cards will not be loaded with money, but they will be loaded with food equivalent.
ABS-CBN announces it would cease operations of TeleRadyo, one of its news channels, by June 30. In a statement, the media company says TeleRadyo has been incurring financial losses since 2020. ABS-CBN says they were left with no choice but to cease operations of TeleRadyo to prevent further business losses. In the same statement, the media company announces it will enter a joint venture with Prime Media Holdings Inc. to produce programs supplied to broadcasters and third-party platforms. It adds that the venture will be able to provide opportunities for their former personnel. On May 5, 2020, the National Telecommunications Commission issued a cease and desist order against ABS-CBN, directing the network to stop operating its television and radio broadcasting stations nationwide, absent a valid congressional franchise required by law. The Denver Nuggets completed a 4-0 Western Conference Championship sweep over the Los Angeles Lakers on Monday to reach the NBA Finals for the first time in franchise history. The Nuggets overturned a 15-point halftime deficit to send LeBron James and the Lakers crashing out of the postseason with a 113-111 victory. Two-time NBA Most Valuable Player Nikola Jokic finished with 30 points. LeBron finished with 40 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists for the Lakers in a heroic attempt to keep the series alive. Denver, who has never won the NBA championship, will face either the Miami Heat or Boston Celtics in the finals. Miami, leading Boston 3-0, can clinch their place in the finals with a victory at home on Tuesday. Alamin naman natin ang mainit na balita sa mundo ng showbiz kasama si Irvin Santiago ng Bandera. Irvin?
Hi Neil at sa lahat ng mga kabandera natin all over the universe. Ito na nga ang latest Bandera Chika. Walang kaarte-arte at walang alinlangang tinanggap ng award-winning actor na si Christian Bables ang alok ng ABS-CBN na gumanap siya bilang isang drag queen. Yan ay para sa digital series ng I1 TFC na Drug You and Me kung saan makakasama niya sina Andrea Brillantes, Ay Sigera, Romnick Sarmenta, Khaled Karen Davila at John Santos. Ayon kay Christian, matagal na siyang gumaganap na Becky sa mga teleserye at pelikula kaya hindi na issue para sa kanya ang mag-portray ng drag queen. Deadman na rin daw siya sa mga kumukwestiyon sa kanyang pagkalalaki o kasarian dahil nga sa patuloy niyang pagganap na bading on-screen. Matagal na raw niyang natanggap na marami pa ring magkokomento about his gender kahit na ipagtanggol pa niya ang sarili sa mga ito. Basta ang mahalaga raw kay Christian, secured siya sa kanyang pagkalalaki at wala siyang dapat i-explain sa publiko. Ipinagdiinan din niya na napakagandang proyekto ang Drug You and Me para palampasin niya.
Kung walang tatanggap ng mga ganito, sino? Kung iilan lang kaming, I must say, na merong tapang at ayun, doon ko na natatapusin yun. Iilan lang kaming merong tapang mag-accept ng ganitong mga klaseng characters. Kasi yung iba natatakot ma-typecast, iba natatakot matag as ganito, as ganyan. Ako kasi, for as long as the character that is being offered to me is a living, breathing character, a character full of heart and life, gagampanan ko yan. Kahit nga sabi ko sa mga interviews, kahit tutubi pa yan, gagampanan ko. Basta something na relevant at makakapagbigay ng boses doon sa mga voiceless.
At yan ang Bandera Chika natin today. Thanks, Neil.
Maraming salamat, Irvin. And these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.